The mistake most people make when they caulk is they use too much caulk. You can always go back and add more caulk if need be, but most of the mistakes people make, they just simply use too much caulk or they over caulk, which all you end up doing is wasting caulk and making a mess everywhere. What I'm doing right now, just using a cloth. It's a microfiber cloth. You could use any type of cloth, but you want to wet it down really, really good, saturate it with water, wring it out. You could use, warm soapy water if you want. I just have water. I just wet it down really good and wringed it out. So what I'm doing is just putting very small beads of caulk on these joints, and I'm simply just wiping down the excess caulk with this rag so that we can get a seam that, that's what your caulk ideally should look like. You're not over caulking, it's not going up the side walls. You're applying the caulk where it needs to be, and you're not over caulking it. And ironically, the less caulk you use, actually the easier that it is. Because it's, like I said, the problems that you run into is just most people are using too much caulk and therefore creating huge mess, and then you spend a lot more time cleaning it up and it makes the job just that much more difficult. And so that's really all that there is to it. That's an example of a great job. The product that I'm using, I've tried a couple different products, and my favorite product is this one here. This is a 3M Marine Adhesive Sealant Fast Cure 4000 UV. Now there's they have a couple of other series of products you can use. This is medium strength, which I recommend. They have permanent, they've got removable. This is in the middle, so it's workable and you can clean it up fairly easy. Really good stuff. The reason I like this kind of it leaves like a rubbery texture to it once it dries, and so it just looks really good, and it also holds up really well to the UV rays. And I also find that this stuff doesn't seem to attract as much dirt and sand like sticking to it after it dries in comparison to using other caulks like a Dicor. I've tried using Dicor, like a non-leveling sealant, and I just find this product to be a lot easier to work with and apply, and I think it lasts longer too. Now, another tip with your caulk, you can buy this stuff. This is a lot of caulk. And honestly, this is way more than I'm going to need for what I'm doing here. But of course, I found that this is the easiest way to apply it using a caulk gun. You can buy small tubes of it, which I do recommend for really small jobs. This product here runs about $17, and I will have an Amazon link below in the description for this. They also come with the tube has a removable nozzle. And another tip too, you don't want to cut the nozzle. You want to leave it the smallest diameter possible so that it puts out the smallest amount of caulk possible. Okay, all right. So the very first step involved before you caulk your RV is you want to get yourself some mineral spirits. I like mineral spirits because it tends to be the most friendly to the other surfaces on your RV, as far as it won't remove paint as much as, say, like alcohol, which you could use some alcohol. Alcohol will really, really clean something great. You just got to be careful that alcohol has a tendency to remove certain finishes, so you need to be careful with that. So you want to get yourself some mineral spirits. just a rag, some terry, terry cloths. Get yourself a good rag. I'd recommend like a terry cloth, not like t-shirt rags or old socks or whatever. Get yourself a good terry cloth towel. Okay, you're going to want to get yourself some disposable gloves, and these are must-have. Okay, because this stuff here, this product that we're using, if you get it all over your hands, it's an absolute mess to clean up, and also your skin could have some sensitivity to the product as well. No issues with fumes or anything, but you could have. I know that you're going to want to wear some gloves. So the label, read the MSDS label on it, but you want to kind of keep it away from your skin as much as possible. So we just take our mineral spirits, pretty simple, just wet it down, and you can see how it's kind of dirty. It's dirty here. Your whole object here is you want to get it as clean as possible and get all of the gunk and the funk removed off of it. Some people will say that, well, you need to remove all of the old caulk. This isn't going to fly. You're doing a half-assed job. There's some people that will say that. I tend to disagree. If your caulk is in pretty good shape, okay, meaning it's not like flaking off, and you can just caulk over the existing. Just make sure that it's really, really, really clean. Okay, that's really important. But if you have some areas where it's been kind of flaking off, then you'll want to grab like a hook, a little pick set. You can buy them pick them up at Harbor Freight, and you'll just want to go in and pick the caulk out. Another tip I'll have for removing caulk on an RV, this is probably my favorite little thing. Basically all it is a plastic razor blade that fits into a scraping razor blade tool. Okay, and these are plastic and they've got two sides on them. They work great because they don't mar up the surface and you won't make scratches on your surface. This has been one of the best things that I've found. I've looked into a couple of there's a bunch of different tools on the market. There's some aviation scraping tools that are a poly material that would also work really well. I just found this to be really cost effective, and I bought these at Amazon Prime, and I will also have a link in the description to these plastic scrapers as well, but I give them a big thumbs up. They work very well for not only removing caulk, but also for removing decals, stickers. They work really, really good for removing a decal, without marring up the surface. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for a clean surface to work with. Very, very important. If you miss this step, you might as well you wasted your time. So you've got to always work with a clean surface that the caulk will have good adhesion to. Another thing I forgot to mention that also makes this process a lot nicer is one of these drip-free caulk guns. Okay, I tell you what, guys, I've been using one of these for a while now, and I know you guys probably remember the old style caulk guns. It's like you caulk and then you pull this thing back and you jack it up and everything's jacked up, right? And you're trying to do this and put caulk on and play with this thing. I'm telling you, just get yourself one of these. This eliminates all of the hassles and the headaches involved with a caulk gun. It works great. You just caulk, set it down. There's no more messing around with the tube, and you've got caulk, like just all over the place and all over the tube, and you're trying to clean this up and clean this up. I'll also have a link to one of these bad boys in the description. Another nice part about using these gloves is, you could use your fingers and wipe the joint, and then wipe your glove off on your rag. It just makes this whole process a lot simpler. When you're going around, and doing an inspection on your RV, come on with the camera, these are the kind of things that you're looking for. Like, there's some separation here, a little bit of separation here. The caulk is separated here and here and here, and this is on the slide out. So, this is the kind of stuff where this can cause a real problem. even though this, you know, is on the slide out, this is where you'll have a lot of your problems with water damage entering into the coach. By getting some caulk on here now and you know, stopping this, you're preventing a potential leak. And this is what damages all RVs all the time, you know, all around the world. In this situation here, I'm not going to be removing, you know, the caulk that's already on here is still in good shape. I've just cleaned it up, and I'm just going to put a small bead over the top of it and wipe it down. On these type of joints, a lot of people think that, oh, you know, water can't get in there and, you know, you don't have anything to be concerned about. That's incorrect information. You do need to be concerned about, even on these joints. I don't know what they're called, but I've actually have experienced a leak by not applying caulk on this edge and this edge. You'll be fine here in the center. This is actually just like a decorative piece. You can actually replace these pieces, but you'll need to make sure that you've got good joints there. Now, of course, another thing to think about, you know, on the side walls like this, you're really not going to have too much of a problems with water entry on the side. You know, it's always just going to be like on the top up there. You need to get up on a ladder and inspect those crowns. Those are areas where there's a lot of caulk separation that can happen. And sometimes after you wipe the caulk down, you'll have enough caulk on your rag that you could just go back over it again and just keep applying a little bit more caulk with what's on your rag. Just another little tip. It's very simple once you get the hang of it. Looking pretty good, but I think I'm going to clean up a little bit here. You can see where there's some cracks in the furnace vent here. You know, that's an area where water can get in. Water typically won't enter in here because it has a splash guard, but got to be looking at those areas. And on these doors, the really important part is on the top portion. Down here, not totally so much, but this is where the water is going to really enter. If it's going to enter, it's going to be right in here. So another important area that you want to check out and inspect is your slide outs. Specifically the top of the slide outs, the corners here, this seam that runs along the top of it here. You know, basically anywhere where water can get in, any cracks, and even inspecting some of the tops of your fastener heads. Might want to smear a little seal over the top of those, but these corners will need some caulk, and then there's also another seam on your top up there as well that you'll want to check out.